Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Yankees have gotten out to one of the best starts in the league. Is it sustainable? Also, the Giants may not go quarterback in the first round, and the Patriots' goal for this draft has to be to get a quarterback they stand behind. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The New York Yankees are atop the American League, not the American League East, but they are atop the American League East. The entire American League, 13-6, and they're pitching well enough. Things are happening in the Bronx. Stacey Getsoulias from Locked On Yankees joins me now. And Stacey, Juan Soto is as advertised, which we talked about the last time you were on the show. Giancarlo Stanton is mashing. He is hitting home runs. You will forgive Yankees fans if they are a little hesitant right now to go, hey, this team's awesome. How much are you buying this first almost 20 game sample?
I'm not. I don't think they're going to be bad, but I don't think they're going to be as good as they were the first, let's say, week and a half of the season, because, they had that losing streak there going, lost the last one in Cleveland, then lost the first two in Toronto. And, the sky was falling after that 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
All right. Considering they don't have Garrett Cole, I think only out of all the starts, I think only 3 starts have made it into the 6th inning from the starter, and Nestor made it to 8 against the Marlins. But, so the fact that the bullpen might be burned out by mid-May is not a good thing, because the starters can't last more than 5 innings. But they're doing this without Garrett Cole. They're doing this without Aaron Judge hitting, because as you had mentioned, Giancarlo Stanton's stepping it up a bit. Juan Soto is being Juan Soto. Anthony Volpe is hitting out of his mind. And, in other years when Judge isn't doing something, the whole team falls apart. And the fact that isn't happening, and Juan Soto's kind of helping that lineup be okay without Judge, that's a difference. But no, I don't think they're going to be that good. But it's a nice start, and it helps at the end of the season when your team gets off to a good start in April.
Yeah, the wins count. No matter when you get them, the wins count. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, here, like you laid out the reasons why they're maybe achieving above where they could be. And also they could get better case here. When you look at the rest of the division, the Orioles, we expect to be pretty good. The Jays have not really performed to expectations so far. And then you're getting like this Cleveland Guardians start where you're going, hey, this is fun. This is a cool thing that's happening. Maybe if you're not a Yankees fan, you're saying that. But if you're a baseball fan, you're probably saying that. So where is the most likely outcome for this Yankees team over the next, let's say, month?
Well,
because we don't expect Garrett Cole, like the timeline for that is still pretty nebulous. Like we don't know when this team is going to look like this team. Plus, of course, the trade deadline of the Yankees after all. But like, give me reasonable expectations here moving forward.
I would say that, 13-6 isn't bad, because I feel like the losing streak kind of like helped a little bit. You know what I mean? I feel like there'd be more pressure on them if they had done well in Toronto and say they went into this off day at 15-4, out of their first 19, and everyone would expect that kind of an output. If they just keep winning series, that's the key for every team. If you just keep winning series, or if you're in a 4-game set, split the series, because those aren't as easy to win or sweep. So if they keep their heads above water like that, they should be fine, I hope. But I'm just hoping the starters really need to start throwing more innings and not throwing. Rodon threw 102 pitches in 4 innings. Can't do that. You can't. Like I said, the bullpen's going to be dead by May, and you can't have that.
Well, and 3 of their next 4 series are against the Rays, the Brewers, who are playing way above their heads right now, and the Orioles. And so all of a sudden we could be talking in early May going, oh yeah, that first 6 weeks, that was a mirage.
That's true. That's true. This is a test. I even think the 4-game series against the A's might be surprising because they're not doing as badly as people expect. A lot of teams are, though. The Royals, there are a bunch of teams that you're looking at the standings and you're looking at how bad the Astros are and how well other teams are doing. And you're thinking, okay, this may be just an April thing. Like, we have to check back in June to see how everyone else is doing.
And you can get tickets to those A's games right now. I just looked at it for $6 if you want.
Nice.
If you want. Stay up to date all year on the New York Yankees by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Yankees on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the New York Giants could forego quarterback in the first round. We'll explain how. Before we get to that, Jimmy Butler will not play on Friday and may not play for a while. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime, and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure you or your team can pull it out. That's when you dig deep. Lift your head up and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull out some bank heists, and take as much of our friends' money as we possibly can. That's right, the smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone. Anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddy. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with wrecking balls. Charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you canvas analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's a right MCL injury for Jimmy Butler, which could keep him off the court for several weeks, according to a report by Adrian Wojnarowski. Butler suffered the injury in a loss to the Sixers on Wednesday. Butler was hurt on the final play of the first quarter in Philadelphia. He remained in the game, but scored a total of 12 points the rest of the way on 3 of 14 shooting. So even if the Heat beat the Bulls tonight, he will not be available for the Celtics series. Speaking with reporters during his exit interview, Warriors coach Steve Kerr sees a lot of value in keeping the band together for another year.
That would be a really hard dilemma if they weren't still good players. That's where it's like, is this just a legacy thing? Or are we just, keeping them around because of what they built? I don't think that's the case at all. Now, clearly, they're not going to be as productive and as durable as they were 5-6 years ago. But we have to figure out what that means.
In Major League Baseball, the Guardians took 3 of 4 from the Red Sox in Fenway and are tied with the Yankees for the best record in baseball.
Guardians back in the win column, and they improved to 10-3 on the road. A 5-4 victory over the Boston Red Sox. They take 3 of 4 from Boston in Fenway. Cookie Carrasco, finally a more encouraging start. He threw almost 30 pitches in the first inning and then really settled down. Only averaged 13 pitches per inning from the second to the fifth. Got into the sixth inning and really had the Guardians defense been a little bit better. They had a couple shaky moments, let him down, some bad luck, but 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. I'll take that from Carrasco. Just a really solid improvement for him overall. Cade Smith, a little bit of bad luck coming out of the bullpen, but got through it. And Tim Hare and Hunter Gaddis, Maynard Clase, shut the door, 7-8-9. That was great to see. Not a lot of offense going on, but hey, David Fry, a double. He scored a run. That was important. He played left field, so that's a good string pulled there. A couple hard hit balls, just got it done for the Guardians. We'll talk about all of that and more on Locked On Guardians. Check it out Friday morning in your feed.
New York Giants general manager Joe Schoen has voiced his support for Daniel Jones, much to the chagrin of plenty of Giants fans. Our Locked On Giants host Patricia Traina would seem to agree with him.
With the 6th overall pick in the Locked On NFL mock draft, the New York Giants select Rome Odunze, Wide receiver, Washington. The Giants haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver or a game-changing number one receiver since Odell Beckham Jr. in 2018. Adding a big target like Odunze not only gives an already solid receiver core a new dimension, but the possibilities over what he can do for whoever the quarterback ends up being are intriguing. Odunze's catch radius is simply sick. Put the ball within his zip code and he's more than likely to make the catch for you. Plus, with a 75% contested catch rate, which, according to Pro Football Focus, leads all draft-eligible receivers with a minimum of 75 pass targets, Odunze is the type of weapon who can not only be a day-one starter for the New York Giants offense that aspires to become more explosive, but he can also become the playmaker that this team has been searching for years.
So Rome Odunze it is, wide receiver out of Washington, going across the country to New York. I personally thought it was going to be Malik Neighbors. I think he's the dude there. Damian, though, you like it? You like the catch radius, maybe the first 1,000-yard receiver and however long for the New York Giants. You like the pick here?
I love the pick, right? 6'3", 215, 4'4" athlete, jumps nearly 40 inches in the vert. Like he said, you need to get a boundary receiver. You need to get an X receiver for Daniel Jones, a guy that he can target at a high volume, but also win those one-on-one situations in the red zone, a guy that you can trust to just kind of lob it up and let him play basketball, let him play above the rim. I think Rome Odunze, who's also a good route runner as well, he gives you everything. He's a three-level receiver, and that's what Daniel Jones needs.
And Matt, I know you have spoken in the past on the Peacock and Williamson NFL show about Rome Odunze needs to be considered in this group of three wide receivers at the top. And it's not like Marvin Harrison's way over there and Rome Odunze's way over here.
No, I think 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 drafts, Odunze is the first receiver off the board. Odunze versus Neighbors, to me, is really splitting hairs. And the one thing I just want to mention about the Giants that we haven't thrown in there yet is you can't count on Darren Waller either. I mean, so they need some middle of the field guys, some red zone dudes, and he fits.
To the war room we go. Did the Giants just get the best work ethic in this NFL draft? Zach Hicks from Locked On Colts is gushing over this pick from the Giants in the Locked On NFL war room.
You know, this may not be something that people think about a lot, but when the NFL Combine came up, Odunze had this great opportunity to showcase who he is. You know, he went out there and did every single drill, did all of the media stuff, where, you know, Neighbors obviously did the media stuff, didn't do any of the drills. Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't do really anything when he was there. So Odunze, of the top three receivers, went out there and did every drill. He was staying until the very end doing the 3-cone like 8 times over and over again to do that kind of stuff. So I know this is a very little thing. You know, it's not something that people talk about, obviously, because you can look at production and all these other things. But in a time where nobody's really doing every drill at the Combine, guys are opting out and doing all these things. NFL GMs and coaches are seeing this guy who's staying out there till 9 p.m. at night doing this 3-cone because he wants to get the certain number that he wants to get to. So I think that just shows the competitiveness that he has and just shows the kind of player he is. And then you add that to the production, you add that to the athleticism, and you just have this really, really great wide receiver prospect. I think he's a great player. I really like his game.
Check out all 6 parts of Locked On's Ultimate NFL Mock Draft on Locked On NFL and be prepared for next week's event. Coming up, the Patriots' goal for this draft is clear. Get a quarterback you trust. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, pun very much intended, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. You can combine the prop bets into a same-game parlay for an even bigger payout in a baseball game, a basketball game, whatever you want. Looking ahead to next week's draft, FanDuel has the over-under on quarterbacks picked in the round at 4.5 in the first. 4.5. There's definitely going to be 4. I think I'm going to take the over on that one. The odds on the over, minus 250. So they think the over, while the odds on the under, so 4 quarterbacks picked or less, plus 182. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Mac Jones wasn't it. The Patriots' last top 10 pick at quarterback seemingly never had the backing of the team. That's why Locked On NFL hosts Tyler Rowland and Alex Clancy say this draft must bring a quarterback they can stand behind.
I guess for me, my take on it is the Patriots have to take that quarterback now because you simply don't know when you're going to be in a position to get this good of a quarterback or to get a quarterback prospect in this tier next year. And we do this every year. Next year's class isn't as good, or next year's class is really good. And it rarely ever turns out the way that you think, although this year did when people said it would be a good quarterback class this year. Some people are saying next year's quarterback class is not very good. So even if New England does get a top pick, there's no guarantee that a quarterback the quality of Drake May or Jaden Daniels or J.J. McCarthy will be available. So in my opinion, the Patriots need to take a quarterback. They can't afford to pass on one. Do you think that they should trade down? And maybe, do you think maybe they should not do either of those and take Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors or Joe Alt, one of the top position players?
The latter part, no. I do think that drafting a quarterback is necessary for them this year. I think that it's important that they decide on who they're going to stand behind, like they weren't standing behind Mac Jones. There was never a time in his time there where everybody was bought in that he was going to be the guy, ever. Not once. And even though he made a Pro Bowl and did the worst gritty in the history of football, when they were doing flag football, this is my wrinkle to this, Tyler. It's because with the Cardinals that I talk about every day, yeah, definitely one of the worst gritties in history. I can't expound upon that enough, but they never bought into him. So this is my thought process with New England specific, because I cover I talk about the Cardinals every day, and Minnesota is a team that I've been discussing obviously a lot. If Minnesota offers New England 3 first-round picks, 11, 23, and the 2025 one, like they would offer the Cardinals if Minnesota doesn't get it, or if New England doesn't get it, I'd much rather, if I'm New England, take the trade and draft Bo Nix or Michael Penix or somebody else.
Here's the problem. What if there isn't one? What if there isn't a quarterback they feel like they can stand behind? Caleb Williams going to go number 1. He's the consensus. He's a borderline generational prospect by most accounts. Jaden Daniels appear to be the second quarterback. This according to numerous reports around the league. Probably going to go to Washington. Well, Drake May is a boomer bust prospect, a project potentially. Now they have Jacoby Brissett. You can afford to let him sit and wait. And J.J. McCarthy is a guy who probably doesn't have a ton of upside. Can you really stand behind him as a top 5 pick? This all depends on if you think a quarterback is worth it. You can't just go pick a quarterback because you need a quarterback. That is a way to start your clock as a general manager artificially. And while, yes, the goal of the organization is to win as many games as possible, the goal of the general manager, the goal of the head coach is to stay employed. You'd like to keep your job. And once you draft that quarterback, the clock starts ticking. The history of general managers and head coaches who get multiple shots at high first-round pick quarterbacks, it's small. It just doesn't happen very often. So if there isn't a quarterback in this draft you love, don't draft him. But if there's a quarterback that you think you love, you might be in love with, or you're deeply in like with, that might be good enough, because next year's draft, not very good. And who knows, if you're bad enough in 2 years to be picking in the top 5 like you are this year, Patriots, then things aren't going great. Now is your best chance to find that quarterback. I'm not saying talk yourself into Drake May or J.J. McCarthy or Jaden Daniels. But if you like one of those guys, if you think they are a potential franchise quarterback, you got to take that shot. By the way, you make sure to check out all 6 episodes of the Ultimate NFL Mock Draft on Locked On NFL. You'll thank me later. And finally, 14 Colorado football players have entered the transfer portal. If you ask Coach Prime, there's nothing to see here. We're good, he said. I trust the recruiting team. I trust our coaches. And please have some faith in me. We good? We all right? We all right. He also said it's rare for starters to enter the portal at this stage, and the bulk of the 14 players are backups. He added, we're making a big deal out of nothing. I guess we'll see, Prime. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, who will have the best NFL draft? We'll get out our crystal ball on that one. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.